He's blowing his mind how effective it is. All right. Good morning. Is there any way to download a couple of pictures without it being a big? I wanted to kid him a little bit about the difference between these two pictures, right?
Oh. You're going to have to email them to yourself.
Okay. All right. Oops. Empty subject set. Actual size. Okay. Not this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing something here real quick.
It's all good, man.
For humorous purposes. That's all that. Subject.
John McKenzie, that looked very healthy, what you were just sipping on. Would a caveman drink that? He was telling me the other day they were doing a caveman sort of style thing. Awesome discipline. You look good, John. I mean, your wife looks better, but.
So you have to pull it up on your.
Okay, that's that one.
You got to do it on your computer.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, what do I do?
Share screen. The bottom green.
Oh, I might need to host you, co-host you. That'll just take 2 seconds.
Okay.
And you're good.
I'll be right.
And then share.
And then where am I? Here. Okay.
And then go to the plus sign.
Email. All right.
Yeah,
Plus sign.
yeah.
Email.
Now they can see everything you're saying.
So, you guys, you see this, right? Can all of you see that, Greg?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So that was Calgary. Okay. Okay, we clear on this? Now,
Sent a weird file. Yep, click it down there. Yes, okay.
okay. And this is the view from my driveway right now. Just so you know, can you tell the difference?
We don't see it.
Share. You have to reach.
Okay.
That's a beautiful
Are you not
screen, though.
Are you
You might
are
have
you
to
seeing the picture?
No, unshare, stop sharing, and then share the new one.
Okay.
That looked like a nice part of Calgary as well.
Yeah, it did.
This one. Here we go.
Oh,
That pretty much looks like Ottawa right now. Same.
That's right. I was just wondering if anybody could tell the difference between those two shots. Was there any difference in the emotions it brought out? Or so this has nothing to do with referrals, but this is the 15th fairway at Pebble Beach. That one going down there is 16th fairway. That out there is Stillwater Cove, which is Long Hing. And then you got a house way off in the distance here they just sold for $32 million. Right there. Single story, 6,000 square feet. Thank you very much. That house is 2,500 square feet smaller than ours. This is our garden where we get year-round vegetables, just so you know, 365-day growing season. We're going to pick some green beans later today. Anyway, I'm sorry to be so annoying. And but I love Canada, and I love winter. I just like to visit winter and then come back to this. I don't like winter to impose itself on me. So, okay. How am I getting rid of just stop share? Here we go. All right. Are we ready? We got 5 screens here. I'm going to look at all of you here. Okay. It's a good looking group. Katya, when you actually have to fill out your entire name, does your hand get a cramp? Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting long. It's getting long.
Yeah. Awesome. I did throw your middle names in there and you really got something going on. We got Trevor with a mask. Good. Good, Trevor. You're somewhere where you got to wear it. I understand. And then now we're getting down to the people who aren't live. We just throw their pictures up there. Okay. They're all 5 screens. Good to see you all on. It's a pleasure. Come back to screen. Okay. Now I start. Sure.
Now click the start the slideshow. Yep. Over.
This one.
Yes.
Okay. We're here to talk about being referral obsessed. And when I'm done, I'm just go stop sharing.
Yep.
We're back in the game.
Yep.
Okay. And this will just click and yes. Okay. How do I go backwards? Okay. You guys ready? All right, let's talk about referrals. Let's talk about getting referrals. Let's talk a minute about the power of it. One of the pieces of good fortune, and that was actually good leadership, early in my career in this industry, in the first company I was in, my leader, my base shop leader, and I was still in this base shop when I got my first in-depth referral training. There was a guy in the company, a sideline of his, that was a long-term insurance guy. You know, and classic sales training, this guy fell in love with that company because it had a building system and he was very successful in it. But he, in trade for some time, for some leadership that he received from my upline on building a company, building an agency, he came in and I flew to Denver and where my SMD lived. And of course, I was in San Jose, California, flew to Denver and sat in a training, just called third-party referral, mastering third-party referral. And I don't care the terminology, referrals are referral, third party means obviously from someone else. I mean, you're not referring from yourself, so I never really fully understood the additional third party. But obviously you're getting it from someone else to someone else. And I sat there mesmerized while this guy spoke to us for longer than I'm going to speak to you on it, for about an hour and a half, just verbally, talking about how to do it, what the tips were. I took copious notes, organized them. That was one of the first things I organized on the flight back. And from this December training, no, it wasn't December, February, like I said, February training, snow on the ground in Denver. And I came back and I became religious in my focus and my obsession, that's why I call it referral obsessed, with becoming referral based myself and with our fledgling team, 6 months old, that they would become referral obsessed. Back then they had a letter, and we'll go through some of this stuff, the basics, and you can tailor it as you as a hierarchy decide. And you're going to need to take leadership on this and talk about exactly how you want to do it to make it uniform. But the reality is that I did get onto this, and I got onto the intangibles of how you make it happen. I got onto the preparation of it. I got onto the telling of stories to get them to connect with it. There's an initial, for many people, reluctance to give referral because they don't want to impose on anybody else. It's the same approval addiction issue that we all have in some form or another. right? We want everybody to think we're special and nice and all that stuff. And we don't want to run the risk of somehow, thinking that somebody doesn't approve of us because we referred them. But then we overcome that, and I'll talk through all of this in more detail. We overcome that by getting them to associate, and we ask them questions and getting them in their own course to associate how many different ways they already give referrals without even thinking about that they're giving referrals. We give referrals all the time, you guys, and everybody does. From the time we introduce somebody to a friend of ours, a friend to a friend, and say, hey, this guy's a really good guy. We've been hanging out for this. I met so-and-so in school, and he's a really good guy. I always wanted you guys to meet. And that's a referral. It's a friendship referral, that they ought to be friends, that we ought to be friends together. We refer in so many different ways. And let me use a couple. We refer, somebody said, I'm new to the area, Greg. I love good thin crust pizza. Do you know someplace that's a really good pizza place? And you would give me the name of a place or two where you think they make really good pizza. Or I could ask for a good Mexican food restaurant, or I could ask for a good Chinese food restaurant, and people do it. Or you go see a movie, not a lot of that happening right now, but you go see a movie, you love it, and you talk to people about it because the movie's on your mind, about how much you enjoyed the movie, which is a referral to go see the movie, running the risk somebody goes and see it and doesn't like it. But they don't even think about that because they're excited about the movie, excited about the restaurant, excited about the car guy they have who's honest and goes the extra mile, does a great job, and so it's the process of giving referrals that seems unnatural to you. Get over it, because you're giving referrals. You've been given referrals all the time like that your entire life, right? In so many different ways. We've got to help the consumer, anybody we come into contact, make that connection. But first, we have to make a connection with them. And so as we talk about this now, what I call the art and science, both art and science of getting in and staying in a warm market. That's why we do it. Why do we want to be in a warm market? One, because it's just so much easier on us emotionally, to deal with a warm market than it is a cold market. Two, because it's easier and less painful, it's faster, right? It's just faster to go from warm market than it is cold market, because in the cold market, that's why we call it cold, is because there's no trust, there's no connection, there's no association. Whereas warm market is going from people who know each other, introducing to people who they want you to know. And that's so much more of a positive experience, whether you're staying in a party or you're at school, or whatever these circumstances were as we grew up, or in the neighborhood and someone moves in and you've already met the person and then played with them a couple of times, they're really nice, and you introduce them to a couple of your friends, right? And so we've got to get our heads into and around the fact that we want to be in a warm market our entire careers. I've always been very excited and proud. Unfortunately, I didn't run out of my warm market, but in that first 6 months, and I was already reaching through other people, and they were bringing people, and so I was working a form of the referral system and recruiting. But you know how you're destined to screw something up if you're being blessed by something you don't understand. You don't understand you're doing it right, so it's just easy to start doing it wrong because you don't know why you were doing it that way this kind of stuff. And so fortunately, it was early in my career that I got this, and I got clear on it, and I got implementing it, and then I got good at it, and I helped our teammates get good at it, and it really was a serious part of our success story. And so I've always been obsessed with the warm market. That's why I became referral obsessed. If I wanted to stay in a warm market, and I never wanted to be in cold, you hear those stories about people that go to work for companies and they make 100 cold calls a day. they just given these lists like a phone book, and you just call strangers and nobody's glad to hear from you, and you're a pain in the ass to them. And, it's just, and I hear about those stories, and I hear about people who do that, and I just don't understand. I don't know how they do it. You have to get your head into a space where you really don't care what other people think, and you're just willing to go through rejection after rejection after rejection. And then it finally seems a little promising, and that guy doesn't do it either. And it's just, I've never wanted to grind those kind of numbers to get success. It's like, it's like somebody dating, and you go, I got to date 100 jerks to find one decent person I can enjoy a date with. And then tomorrow I got to, as if he could do it this way, I got to date 100 more jerks to find one other nice person I enjoy going out with. And I'm going to do that day after day after day. Right? I mean, no, thank you. And so I never have enjoyed rejection that much. Some of you may love it, and you hit yourself in the head with a hammer and do other things at home for a hobby. But for those of you that aren't like that, right, then this is for you. If you're like me, this is for you. And so here we go. Become referral obsessed. Your goal is 100% of your business by referral. I have not made a cold call in my career. Now, I've taken all kinds of people I've just met, turned them into friends over time, and then talked to them about the business. But by the time I was talking to them about the business, they were a warm market. Pure and simple. I got called by a guy by accident. He's a really nice guy. Called by a guy who was actually searching for a guy who owed money. And we started talking, and he says, are you sure you're not this person? I said, I promise. As God is my witness, my friend, I am not. I said, how did you get into this business? And he started talking about his life, and we became friends over the phone. It was really interesting. He's a pretty confident guy. I don't know what you call those guys that are chasing people down for he is a bill collector, right? And we ended up, I said, how much fun is this, doing this? He said, not fun at all, right? And I mean, like, nobody wants, they don't even admit they're, that they're the person I'm looking for, and I said, wow. He says, what do you do? And I started talking a little bit about that. He says, that sounds like more fun. I said, would you like to get together and talk about it? He says, yeah. Okay. And so he came down to the office and we talked about it. He lived a little bit north of us, closer to San Francisco. And I said, I'll tell you what, let's get together as a couple, bring my wife up, meet your wife, and let's have a serious conversation about the business. So we followed up with that. We recruited the guy. His name was Keith. And he went on and had a good career with us. And it was a wonderful supplement. He had a retirement. He was military retired, then had another thing he'd done and retired. So he had 2 retirements, but it wasn't quite enough. He wanted to stay busy, and he supplemented with us. And it was a wonderful contact, wonderful direct guy in our base. But it's all, but I warmed him up first. And then he started introducing me to people he knew. And of course, we started building a team by referral. Referral, referral, referral. Use credible people to introduce you to credible people. I want to get into the warm market, but I want it to be the right market. So I want it to be the warm right market. In other words, age, marital status, household income, we pay attention to that. I just don't accept any referral. So we'll talk about qualifying and all of this stuff in a minute. You're going to build, when you build by referral, through trust relationships. Name of the game, build through trust relationships. Every once in a while, you're going to get a referral and somebody says, I don't like that guy who referred you. Then you stop bringing up that person's name and you try and connect personally. That's happened to me a few times, not much. But you build through trust relationships. Now, why do you want to do that? Here we go back to the original premise. It's easier, it's more fun, it's more enjoyable. Everything about the business is better when you build by referral and build through trust relationships. Because you're borrowing someone's trust until you earn your own. And that's the simple concept behind it. The foundation of all good relationships is trust. It's the number one thing in a marriage that makes it work. It's through the bridge of trust that you get to love, right? The bridge of trust and respect that you get to love. right? And when you have trust, respect, and love, you can have wonderful relationships, wonderful friendships, wonderful relationships with your children, etc. Right? So you ask the question, without trust, what do we have? That's not a high enough level question we're learning with Barry, because that can be answered with just one word, say nothing. But why is it nothing? Why is trust so critical? Ponder that a second. Why is trust a big deal? What do you have with it? What do you have without it? You ever been in some kind of sales situation, not you selling, but someone, it could be a car lot. It could be in a men's store. It could be anywhere. You came to buy something, and the person that comes to assist you, so to speak, sell to you, you just get a snaky feeling. You know, I was in a men's warehouse, right? A men's clothing store. And they're kind of their stuff is okay, but boy, they try and upsell you and everything. You charge it, they tell you to have a cheap suit, then they charge you for every little tiny thing they can possibly think of, right? And I remember this woman was helping me, and she's reasonably attractive, and I could tell she was playing on that. And she's sitting, and I'm talking to her in the beginning, and she says something to me, kind of flirtatious, and she winks at me. And I go, hey, lady, did you just wink at me? Right? Seriously, see this? Left hand? See that ring? I've been married to an absolute world-class woman. You know, at this point, it was like 28 years. She can wink at me, but you don't get to wink at me. I don't know you. I don't want you winking at me. I don't want you flirting with me. I want some help with some clothes, right? Are we clear on why I'm here? And are you really clear on what I'm not interested in? You know, and she was shocked. I think it was the first time in her life anything like that had ever happened. But I take that stuff personally. I consider that in her, because look, this wasn't a special person. And that's all I'm going to talk about that. Go to a car dealership and the guy's telling you this, whatever you want to hear. I said, do you ever tell a straight story? Right? I said, can I expect anything honest to come out of your mouth? And the guy was nonplussed. He hardly knew how to respond to it. Either I start getting the feeling, or we're going to go in there and find somebody else who can shoot straight with me, which is what we ended up doing. He couldn't find a way, right, to be honest with me. I didn't trust him, so I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't trust her, so I didn't do business with her. You know, you want to trust people. You want to connect. You've all been in somewhere in a sales situation, and somebody's walking over, and you just look at them, you go, oh, no, I don't even want to talk to them. Are you relating to this at all, you guys? We've all had these kinds of experiences. And so we don't want to be that guy or that woman ever, ever. Right? And so knowing that we've got to build trust relationships, and this is the name of the game. Everything in your business will be improved by building a warm market. Everything, everything, everything. I don't think I need to convince you of this anymore, but I still reinforce it every time. But so here's more of the reinforcement about why. You'll build a better business. You'll build it faster. Do I need to do any more than that? I mean, that is enough. The first reason was enough. The second reason was enough. And I got 4 more. It's you can duplicate it, so it's more duplicatable. And that's something you want, because you want to pass it on. It focuses you in the right market, which allows you to build faster and better. It's easier. Yay. Let's hear it. There's enough hard stuff. Let's go with something a little bit easier. Usually the path of least resistance defeats you, right? Takes you down instead of up. But this is actually easier than cold, and it's better, and it's more fun. All right. That should be for Barry's thing. Curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction brought it back. But we got, right? We're working, we're learning Now in our pilot program with Barry Ryan, I'm selling through curiosity, but most of you think it's just going to be the other person's curiosity. It's actually as much your curiosity about them and connecting with them that way. Now, so this is why you want to do it, and some of the other reasons I explained on the other slide. Now, what is it? What is it that's we're looking to do? I've talked to you about this. We got 3 things we got to get squared away, right? We got character, we got competence, and we got connection. You're bringing the character, trustworthiness. You're showing up in their life with some level of competence. You know your business, you know your products, and you're a trustworthy person. You're going to be honest with them. You're going to be forthright. You're going to, when they ask you a question you don't know the answer to, you're going to tell them you don't know the answer, and you go find the answer and bring it back. And they're going to respect that. People don't expect you to know everything about everything. They like it when you know as much as you know as you can. But the reality is, every time somebody asks you a question you know the answer to, that's one less. That's one more in your rearview mirror that'll never happen again. Right? And I remember my first time, my first field presentation. I had no field trainer. We were a brand new pioneering organization in California for this company. And we were the blind leading the blind a little bit. And I left there with a notepad of 21 questions I didn't know the answer to. And I got answers to all 21 of them and brought it back. Still can't believe they ended up buying. And the next one, it was like another 18. And then it was 12. And then it was 7. And the bottom line was after about 8, 10, 12, 15 appointments, I was asked most of the questions I was going to be asked the rest of my career. But I never once blew smoke, right? I never once tried to make up something. I never once told them I knew it when I didn't know, right? And if I thought I knew but I wasn't sure, I'd say, I'm not sure. I think the answer is this, but I'm going to verify that, right, when I come back. Or I'll call you in between, and let you know what the answer to that is for sure. And so that honesty, conducting yourself with integrity, connects with people, right? They begin to trust you, and that's the name of the game, right? So I'm bringing character, my trustworthiness, I'm bringing competence, and I'm bringing a pleasant demeanor, right? And some humor, right? And so I'm one of the things that allows me to connect with people is I'm honestly interested in them, right? And so if I were meeting Cam Agnew for the first time, and I would be asking him all kinds of questions about his life and about what he does for a living and what are his interests and what sports does he love and I'm just asking questions. I'm just curious about people. Right. And and then I ask them what motives they have about stuff and, and what some of their dreams are. And, I've not transferred that well. That's what we're getting with Barry. Sure, I've transferred it some, but I wasn't even that clear on what I was doing and why it was so effective. And I'm really grateful for this pilot program and for what we're going to develop for our people. We're going to impact literally tens of thousands of our teammates, ones that we already have, but hundreds of thousands in our future, hundreds of that, even millions with what we're developing right now. And I'm getting off on a tangent and let me get back to it. But I come into a home and or at any situation, I don't care if 2 people are sitting across the desk from me, I'm going to bring their home or their world into mine. Right? I'm going to get into their world because that's what they're interested in. Right? And so I'm going to talk about, that's why I love sitting at a kitchen table and saying, how did you guys meet? Was it love at first sight? How long did you guys date, before you got married? What were the circumstances of how you asked her? This kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. Turn to the wife and go, what did you see in him? What'd you love about him? What caused you to fall in love with Robert? And I said, what about, Julie? And I don't know why everybody doesn't ask those questions. I just find them the answers fascinating. People love talking to you about it. You end up having a real in-depth friendship conversation with people. You know, and you're talking about you get them to talk about their favorite subjects is themselves and each other. And then you get them talking about their children, you know, and lo and behold, you are connected. Then you start talking about their dreams and stuff. I wouldn't start with that because that'd be a little weird. You talk about their life, the stuff that matters, the stuff where their heart's engaged. You're now talking to them about the things they would literally give their life for, each other and their children. Talk about where they were raised, you know, and then you start talking about where they work. What do they like about that? You know, they usually end up sharing some things about what they don't like. And then that starts telling you things that'll help you recruit them. You know, I mean, it's a very simple, friendly, warm, enjoyable process. Now, you're going to meet people that don't want to talk. Don't worry about that. I've got a solution for that. You ready? Stop talking to them. It's a very simple strategy. Quit bothering them. Just stop, right? Because you are officially a pain in their rear end right at that moment. You've been like that before. If you haven't, I promise you, I sure have. I'll experience that today. My wife recognizes when I don't feel like talking. And she says, if I come back in an hour, will you talk to me? You know, and I go, yes, right? And because I'm a private, pretty solitary individual, very comfortable by myself. I'm happiest with her, but I'm happy by myself too. But I can be happy by myself because I know I've got her. You know, so it's an interesting thing. But this reality of connecting with people, when you go into a home, look around for things that are interesting. One of my favorites is people usually have up family photos. Maybe they even have up parents and grandparents. So it's multi-generational, right? And I love talking to people about their families, about their upbringing. And then you're engaging both of them, because this is the wife's parents. She starts talking about stuff. And you start talking about their lives and what they do, you know, and what was it like growing up with them. And, you know, and then your parents, and then you're looking at the children. And if you start paying attention, children's faces tell you lies. Say, okay, that one's a pistol right there. She's making you earn all your money. You can see the strong will in that your boy's face there, you know, that kind of stuff. I was in a home here a week ago. Someone I wanted to get to like us. I was there with my son-in-law, and I wanted them to do work at our ranch. And I'm looking at the family photos. And when I'd first met him, he visited us at our ranch. I'm talking about, this guy is a superb earth mover, and he's the guy who originally did the dam of this particular pond. And I want to double the size of the pond. I need to double the size of the dam, and I want him to do it because he's just great at it and has integrity and is reasonably priced. But I'm in his home. He's 80 years old. And he has a family wall up in the home, he and his wife, generations. And I just stood there fascinated, getting him to tell me stories about the family. By the time we were done with that, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, we talked about their family, grandparents. And for him at 80, grandparents extended back into the 1800s. And so all of a sudden we're talking 5 generations. He's got great grandchildren. And it was just an amazing conversation talking about U.S. history over that span of time. And he's a farmer too, as well as an earth mover. And it just, anyway, fascinating. And it's interesting. I called him the next day. He says, you know what? My wife and I have been talking about you and Trevor off and on all day today, about how much we enjoyed your visit. I said, I called you just to tell you how much we enjoyed visiting, that I miss you today. He says, we miss you too. Right? And then it was a lock that we were going to do business together. Right? And he told me he probably couldn't get a hold of his son's equipment. He has a son who has a big earth moving company. and he was trying to get it somewhere else. And after we became such good friends, 2 days later calls me and said, I told my son I need some of his equipment, right? He owes it to me. I'm his dad. I'm the one that put him where he is in his company. And so, yeah, I'm using some of his equipment this December to do, take that week and a half to do your dam. I said, fantastic. Connection, trust, right? And be interested. Can you be interested in people, you guys? Can you? Can you really be interested in them? Not for selfish reasons, for sincerely just being interested. I don't care if the guy told me afterwards, I can't do it. I'm too old. I'm not going to post to my son. And I go, cool. Man, I've enjoyed meeting you. And I would have meant it. It was just something they didn't buy, right? They didn't join. But I still enjoyed the connection. And so I go around connecting with people all the time. And that's what I do. And and I hope in a way I'm connecting with you a little bit as we spend our time together in Q&A and all. So this is what we need to be. People of strong character, competent in our business, with the ability to connect, which means showing sincere interest in people, enjoying that experience of connection just for the sake of connection. The most rewarding thing to do day in and day out with your life is to connect with other people and uplift them. It's the best thing to do every day. Whether it's connecting with your own children, uplifting them, connecting with your sweetheart and uplifting them, connecting with your parents and uplifting them. It's just the best. But then all these other people, and sometimes play a game with yourself. You got a young man bagging your groceries at the grocery store. Can you connect with him? I do it like this. What's your name tag? Ben. Good to meet you, Ben. My name's Rich. Hi. How long have you worked here? And then he starts telling me. That's great. You going to school too? He says, yeah, I'm in high school, Los Gatos High School. What year? Junior. Cool. How's it going? You enjoy high school? You enjoy your junior year? Yeah. It was my favorite year. I enjoyed my senior year, but my junior year was great. You know what you want to go to? You want to go to school? He says, yeah, I want to go to college. What schools are you interested in? You taking a look at it yet? Yeah, this last summer, my parents, we drove to this school and that school and that school. And I really liked San Diego State, and I really liked University of San Diego, and thinking also about applying to UCLA. And have any in this area? He says, yeah, I'm going to apply to San Jose State too. And so we just started talking about that. I said, any thoughts at this point? Obviously, things can change about what you want to study, and we end up connecting. Now, the next time I come through there, I wait in that same line. There he is. He recognizes me, waves when I'm still 3 deep in the line. Now we end up talking again. I said, I didn't ask, did you have any brothers or sisters? And just, we became friends. I'm not prospecting him as a junior in freaking high school. I'm just enjoying the connection. And so I practice everywhere I go, but the practice is fun. I may late this afternoon go down. It's just a short distance, 3-minute drive to the Pebble Beach practice facility, and maybe hit a few balls. I like to decompress sometimes, just hitting a few balls. And you know what? Somebody's gonna be hitting next to me, and I'm gonna connect. I can't tell you how many cool people I've met just right there. Someone's in from Great Britain playing Pebble Beach. Someone's in, coming in, and their children brought them, and because it was on their bucket list to pay Pebble and Spyglass. And then I tell them, hey, there's a higher rate course than Spyglass called Pasatiempo. That's a gym, designed by the same guy, Alistair McKenzie, who designed Cypress Point and Augusta National, right? You ought to go up to Pasatiempo and play. It's open to the public. It was his favorite course. It's where he lived. It's just connect. And it's just so much fun. This is what you're doing when you go into a home. This is what you're doing when you're talking to somebody in a follow-up interview. You're connecting this way. Once you've made connection, do you know how easy it is for them to refer you? And if you don't make connection, do you know how difficult it is to get referrals? I mean, what if that snake in the grass car salesman guy, right? After I said, man, you are not my kind of guy. You know, you ought to learn just to be nice. You know, and he says, okay, I'm sorry, but would you have a couple of guys you know that want to buy cars you'd refer to me? What are the chances of that? Right? 0. And so the connection becomes. Now, let's move forward a little bit now and come specific to our business. We're field training most of the time, right? We're out field training. None of this changes. But one of the things that can help is you've taught the person you're field training that they are going to edify you. They're going to brag on you a little bit prior to the appointment. Why? We're getting some credibility. Once I have some credibility, it's easier to start respecting me. And in order to start respecting me, it's easier to start trusting me. The end goal is always trust. And we've got to be worthy of it. So the edification is just to help quicken the path or quicken the trip. I can say it. Quicken the trip to trust, right? Your destination is trust. Edification raises credibility. So they listen with a little bit more anticipation, a little bit more respect. Now you're starting to connect with them. Good things happen. As I've talked about it, you're making a personal connection. See, edification helps with that. Now, I'm going to share with you some things that I have done for decades. I am confident you've done some of these things. For some of them, you're not probably doing as good a job as you could do. So let's see if we can't raise the level of your game a little bit. If some of you who used to do this and you've forgotten, you stopped doing it, I want to bring you back to it. But I want to give you a way. So now I've got somebody. My number one goal is connection and building a trust, a relationship of trust, all aimed, right, at developing a customer relationship, a positive friendship customer relationship, because I'm there to help them and I'm passionate about it. They're going to, because of that connection, they're much more likely to buy and much more likely to keep the product, right? So those are good things. So it's good for the business, good for NPR. So it's good business sense as well as good ethical, moral sense. The two go together in this, right? And then, right, understanding as part of this process, I want them to give me referrals. I'm there on the basis of referral. I want them to give me referrals. And so I have kind of what I call a standard introduction that I begin every presentation with when I'm in the home. And you know what I do? Lo and behold, I talk about referrals right up front. So I'm doing this. So I'm sitting down, right, with Paxton and Jill. And we've already talked about it. Now I already know he was in law enforcement. I know things about her. I know about their fitness thing. We've looked at family photos. We've talked about children. We talked about all of this stuff. But Pax is a cop, so he got a little bit more of a barrier, right? And this kind of stuff, that profession distances you a little bit because you can't trust. Do you understand? As a cop, you've got to mistrust. As a general rule, simply because is the guy going to pull a knife? Is he going to pull a gun? Is something bad going to happen? I'm walking up to a car with a traffic stop with my hand on my weapon because I don't know what I'm getting. And if I don't see the guy's hands on the steering wheel and they're moving down here, I've got to think he's maybe trying to do, right? Something bad's about to happen. He may be fiddling with some papers, but I've got to pay attention to this. It's not the greatest state of mind. And so I would know that about Pax, and I'm not going to rush him. You know, if I've done a little bit of homework and I have a little bit of experience with people and professions, I know that. If he's a software engineer, I know I'm going to get into details more with him. I know if he's a CPA, I'm going to get in more of the numbers with him. I don't worry about that. I work with all of it, but none of that changes that I'm going to make a connection and he or anybody else or she or anybody else wants a trust relationship just like everybody else. So I'd say, Paxton, Jill, a couple of things. We're kind of a different company than most companies that you'd see and that you see advertised on TV. You've not seen us advertised on TV. There's a reason for that. We do 100% of our business by referral. And the reason we do it that way is because we believe in trust relationships. Right? And I don't think we're exceptional. I think probably we all do, right? We all prefer them. But I just want you to know how we look at it, right? That if somehow during our time together and the time we spend, if in any way you didn't feel like you could trust us, then it's absolutely not, you shouldn't do business with us. Shoot, you shouldn't have us as friends. You wouldn't want us as neighbors. And so we believe in trust relationships. We know you do. We just want you to know, I want you to know we do too. Right? And so we don't do cold calls. We don't do mailers to strangers. You know, we don't pound doors. Right? I'm here because Larry brought me, and I appreciate that you've taken the time, and we understand we're guests in your home, and we're not going to overstay our welcome, but we do everything by referral, and it's allowed us to build a great company, building just through trust relationships. I met Larry because I know a friend of his who introduced us. You know, in fact, how did you meet Jill? And about half the time I'll ask a question like that, they tell me they were introduced by a friend. And I said, wow, that was a good referral. You know, and so what am I doing? I'm bringing the concept of referral into the presentation after I've made the connection, right? Before we've even sat down and making connection, looking at family photos, talking about how long they live in the home. It's a beautiful home and this and that. And, you know, and that's a beautiful antique. Is that family? Yeah, that was my grandmother's, whatever. Right? And then we're sitting down and I've talked to them about their marriage, you know, these kinds of things. And I said, I want you to know one of the reasons we want to build by referrals, we believe in this. We look for 3 attributes in the people who work with us, but also in the people we want to work with. I'm just like I bet you do. We look for strength of character in people, you know, and one of the reasons I was able to connect with Larry fairly fast because John, his friend, I know and trust already. He told me Larry was for real and was a good man, was the kind of person we'd want to work with. And so then we met, and I already was inclined to like Larry. He had heard the same things about me. He was inclined to like me. And we both knew people we trusted that said that Larry was an honest man and a good person. And frankly, the same thing he's told me about you two. But this is what we look for in our people, in our teammates, in our relationships, the strength of character. We also look that they have quality relationships in their life. You know, and we look at friendships and we look at marriage and we look at how they are with the children. I know nobody talks about this stuff in business hardly, but we do. We build on strength of character because we got to build quality relationships. And if you don't have that foundation, you can't, because you can't build, because you don't end up being trustworthy. And since everything we do is based on trust, not on advertisement, not on branding, not on imaging, not on hiring some actor to say nice things about us, right? And I love the Geico ads, right? They're hilarious. But we do it person to person, one connection to the next. Then we looked at Larry's life and his life experience, just kind of person. So we build on people like this. Strength of character, who have quality relationships, who have good life experience, right? And it works for us. Now, another thing is we never try and do business the first time we sit down with somebody. You know, frankly, we believe in what we're doing enough that we think we can give you time to think about it. And if we give you time to think about it and you decide you don't want to do it, that was what you needed to decide. And also we believe that if you think about it, you still don't like it, right? Or you think about it a while and you decide it wasn't good enough, that was why you should have been given time to think about it. Because here's the bottom line for us sitting here with you right now. It doesn't matter what Larry thinks, and it doesn't matter what I think. It only really matters, Paxton, obviously, what you and Jill think. And I'd look at both of them in the eye. You're the only people here whose opinions really matter. This is your home, your life, your money, your future, your family. We respect it. We're guests. We hope to contribute. But at no point in this time here together, the rest of this evening, am I going to ring a bell and start chasing you around the room, right? And so we don't do business that way. We like to give you time to think about it. We feel like if you think about it, you'll make a better decision. Then we'll gather some information and we'll come back with the proof that we can help you. Then, with the proof in black and white that we can make a difference, then we're going to ask you to consider it seriously. How does that sound? Now, what happened when I did that? What happened when they heard that? We're a character-based company. We look for the evidence of that in our people that represent us, that they have strength of character, that they built quality relationships, which is the proof of your strength of character. They have good life experience, that we believe only in trust relationships, that we do 100% of our business by referral. We're not trying to convince strangers, right? That we don't do business in the first presentation. We want to have a chance to gain that trust. We want to have a chance to prove ourselves. You've given us that chance, and we're grateful for it. And we understand we're guests here. Now, what kind of environment do I have now to give a presentation in?
Rich, can I read some comments in the?
Yes.
Yeah. So you made a genuine connection that will make everyone's lives better. You built trust. Walls come down. Built so much trust. Takes their guard down. Sort of the comments.
Okay. And that's right. Now I'm talking to new friends. They kind of like me. I like them. They already liked Larry. You know, I borrowed Larry's likability and his trust to connect with them. And then I started working without pressure, with sincere interest. Not like, oh, family photos. Let's come over here and discuss them so that we can connect, right? I mean, it's nothing like that. Even that would be better than nothing, I guess. About that much better. But please be sincerely interested, right, in them, because you're there for them. And it's when I say they're the only opinions that matter in that room, I mean it. And you heard what I said, right? Only Paxton, only you and Jill, your opinions matter. Why, right? Because it's your home, your life, your marriage, your family, your money. So, and we get it. And we're grateful for the chance to talk to you. Okay. Now, connecting with people, whether I'm doing recruiting or whether I'm doing a sales presentation, I talk about our company. I talk about how we do 100% of our business by referral through trust relationships, because that's the only thing we believe in, right? That we're looking for these attributes in our people, right? Strength of character, quality relationships, good life experience. We don't do business the first presentation because we feel good enough about what we do. We feel like we can give you time. You think about it. People who rush you feel like if you think about it, you're not going to do business. We're the opposite. We think if you think about what we're talking about here, you'll want to do something. You know, and it's just people start nodding with you, and now we've got it. Okay. Now, There are three ways we get referrals in the business, right? First is you're going to sit down with somebody and get a prospect list and your own prospect list. You never stop building it. They never stop building it. You never stop building it. It's a constant, all the time thing. Leadership, you need to stop regularly with your teams and have prospect list parties. Bring them back in, base shop meeting. Everybody brings their prospect list, right? You work on developing a focus group of 10 names, at least 10 right on the spot, and then you blitz them. Where this next week, we're all going to make these 10 contacts, you know, and you may do a little training on contact and some role playing and how to ask questions and all this stuff we're going to get better at. But the prospect list is the name of the game. Everybody gets an expanded memory jogger. You go through every item on it. Too many of us shortcut this. We shortcut it. The better we get at passing on effective technology to them, effective technique about asking questions and all this stuff, like the stuff I just talked about, right? The faster they'll go with it. But one of the mistakes we make in prospect list is just doing lower law. Many of you have been in a retreat where I've talked about this with you, or been on a webinar where I've talked about this. When I'm working with somebody about a prospect list, I stop them and let them know that it's not just writing a name down and some little meaningless exercise. This name is a family. It's usually a couple. It's usually a couple and children, right? It's a couple, children, and parents, right? And one day it'll be a couple, parents, your grandparents, parents, children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And the stuff that we teach ripples out through generations. It changes lives. It changed mine. I share a little bit of my story, how a part-timer, high school music teacher, full-time, part-timer in the business, only in the business 8 months, but about the third month, talked to me, set up our program as an afterthought, invited us down to a meeting, and totally changed our stars, impacting 5 generations of our family. Unbelievable. So when you're writing a name down, it's not some little technical business exercise. Some of these people are going to become your teammates. Some of them are going to build successful businesses here. Many of them are going to have their financial future considerably brightened. On the average situation, we put hundreds of thousands and very often millions of dollars in their future because of a few hours of spending time with them. It's transformative. Get excited about it, right? Get a vision for what's going to happen in these people's lives because of the help we bring. We're starving. They're starving for knowledge about what to do with themselves financially, right? And we're showing up with a food truck. And so you've got to introduce, when you're working with people on their prospect list, and those prospect lists are your referrals. You've got to be on top of your game this way. You've got to be making this happen. The bigger, the better for a referral list, right? Because the bigger it is, the more confidence they have, less fear, less pressure. You're going to get with husband and wife when you're building a prospect list. Just like when you're in a home giving a presentation about anything. I want to connect with the husband. I want to connect with the wife. They both have their opinions. They form a team. They bring different skill sets, different strengths and weaknesses, different perspectives. Their number one opinion maker in each other's life should be and usually is each other. And so if I make a connection with one but not with another, I've got a big hole in the bottom of my boat and I'm probably going to sink. But if I connect with both, it's like I was talking about that home I was in for that guy. The wife's talking about their children. They're talking about her parents, her grandparents. He's talking about his parents, his grandparents, right? And it was just a marvelous conversation. And I was connected with both. They ended up saying, will you stay for dinner? Can you stay for dinner with us? Right? Someone from the church barbecue just dropped by off a tri-tip. You know, would you like some sandwiches? We said, we'd love to. You know, and so we end up having a great conversation with them and breaking bread and just having a great experience. I love connecting with people. I keep coming back to that. But because of my commitment to get it right and my commitment to good quality of business, good NPR, I'm never going to do one or the other. It's going to be both. It's almost to the point, it's so meaningless to do it with just one. If I can't get with you both, I literally just won't get with you. I won't do business. That's just the way it is. All right. And one of the ways you can get with both of them is their social networks. And all their followers and stuff is a pre-built prospect list for a lot of these folks. And so, so we have memory joggers, but we also got everything there in the social network. Plug it in and go. Get online, they get on the phone, they start rattling off names, and it's wonderful. And you can build a prospect list, a good long prospect list, 100 names, fast. Really work at this, you guys. You want to be in the referral business, then work at being in the referral business. Really work getting this prospect list, getting them long, getting them in the right market so we can get good things going on here. I need a sip of water. Talking makes you dry.
Rich, do you have any comments on how you might look at it at all any differently, or if there's any extra questions or different questions when meetings are probably 99% on Zoom right now and we're not getting that in-home experience of seeing some pictures on the wall and stuff like that?
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a great question. I can ask everything I need to ask. Like when I was connecting with that young man bagging the groceries, he didn't have any family photos up behind him, right? There are all kinds of situations where I met, let's say they had come into the office and I was talking to them in person. No family photos there. But I'm going to ask them questions about their life, right? Ask them about that family. Enjoy the thought, hey, I was doing this with Tom Dempsey yesterday. I said, how is your son doing? Right? They moved to Atlanta from Florida. It was a new school. I've asked him those questions already. I already know he's assimilated well in school. And he said, oh, let me tell you, right? Because we're connected. You know, his son got picked in a region in top 50 soccer players, that region. They got brought into Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to the Division I program there. And it was a camp. And he loved watching his son make connection with the other athletes. Completely diverse group, right? Culture, race, everything, and everybody's connecting. They're trading phone numbers. But I just enjoyed listening to Tom. I asked him some questions. How good is he playing nowadays? You know, Tom was a professional soccer player. I said, how's he developing compared to how you developed, how your wife developed in her sport? You know, and it just, I'm getting him to talk about one of his favorite subjects, his only child, his son, and his son's a pretty good athlete, and Tom is athletic, and he's just thrilled to talk about it. Tom and I have a great friendship. And that was over a phone call, not even a Zoom call. These principles remain the same. By the way, if I connected with Greg, I said, would you mind, do you have any family photos you could show me? I just screen shared my front yard, didn't I? I was having fun with these, showing you the snow, right? Winter in Canada, winter at Pebble Beach. You know, I mean, just these kind of things and having a little fun with it. But you could hold up a photo to the camera. And I'd say, okay, now how old are they now? You know, this, and we could do all that. Once you get into this mindset, you guys, that's what you're going to do. You know, and you do that over Zoom. Zoom isn't a barrier to connecting. You might be a barrier to connecting, but Zoom isn't. And once you get your head straight about this, you're connecting better with your new people on the team and helping them develop and getting that prospect list gigantic. Build your list, never stop building it. I go around connecting with people, adding their name to my phone. I put PL after their last name, stands for prospect list. capital P, capital L. So whenever I type in PL, this comes up alphabetically, and there it is. I put notes, thing in the notes in my phone, and I have a walking around tool all the time, adding prospects, you know, and it's fun. Man, it's fun. All right, so that's one way of 3 ways. Here's another one, sales presentation. We've been talking about this. I've already introed you to it, right? I prepare, right? What is the preparation? That's at the beginning of the presentation, that standard introduction I talked about with 100% of our business referral, trust relationships. This is what we look for in our people. This is what we build our company on. Strength of character, right? Quality relationships in their life, good life experience, you know, and I've already worked on connecting with them. I'm going to use examples of how people give referrals in everyday life. I'm going to use the influence of the referring person during the presentation. So now I go back to my imaginary Larry sitting with Paxton and Jill. And Paxton goes, that's interesting, right? We're usually interested about the same stuff. Time value money, compound interest, this kind of stuff, tax advantage of an IUL contract in the US, whatever it is, right? And if Larry was in the same thing, I'm sincerely, you know what, Larry was intrigued by that too. And frankly, so was I the first time I saw it. What are we doing? We're bringing the influence of referring person. And when I sit down at the beginning, another thing I like to do, and I go, Paxton, Jill, what was it that Larry told you that caused you to be willing to sit down with us tonight? Well, he told us this, he told us that, you know, and I always kind of thought I needed to know a little more about insurance, a little more about what my options were for saving money. I said, that's good. But I don't leave it there. You know what I'd say then? Constantly look for the opportunity to bring the influence of referral. I said, I'm sure glad that Larry was willing to refer me to you. So I think we really may be able to do some good things together. We'll know, right? And you're certainly not going to have to decide about that tonight, as I've already explained. But I'm glad he referred us. I've enjoyed meeting you so far. It's cool. You know, when somebody else hears something they think is of value, that they share it with somebody. Here I am bringing it again. When somebody hears something of value, they're willing to share it with people they care about. I respect that. We built our whole company on it. Again, right? I'm not, 10, 12 minutes into the presentation, and I have somehow brought referrals into the picture a bunch of times. Now, I start the presentation. You've got your standardized presentations. We're giving the presentation and make a good point. And then I go, I'm reflecting again how much difference these concepts have made in my life. And I'm appreciating again your willingness to let us into your home to talk to you about it. And I'm appreciating again that Larry referred us. And then I stop and I go, you know what? Sometimes we'll meet people, since we do everything by referral, and they're reluctant. And they say, well, I don't give referrals. And you know what? It's interesting how often we give referrals. And then I bring the pizza thing up. Then I bring the Chinese restaurant thing up. And I said, right now, Paxton, do you have a good car mechanic? Or do you know a dealership that does a reputable job without sticking it to you? Pax, come on live. Unmute.
Yeah.
Paxton, where do you get your cars serviced?
At the dealership.
Okay. Why?
Because they know my vehicle.
And do they do a good job? They deal straight up with you?
Yeah, I feel like they do from what I know, yeah.
Yeah, and they do. Now, occasionally when we were younger and we were broke and we had a used car, we found a mechanic somewhere that had a little shop, and we went there and they were honest with us and all of that kind of stuff. A friend of mine bought a car of mine. The S600 the company gave me back several years ago. He's my best friend in high school, still very close. And he wanted one, and he decided to buy it. I gave him a great price. and there were some things that needed work, and he went into this guy, and the guy said, looked at it, and he'd gone to a dealership, and they'd, given him $11,000 bill, some ridiculous thing of what it was going to cost. He said, man, and he went to this other guy, he goes, none of that stuff needs to be done. Right? What's happening here is this and this and this. And if we do this, tweak that, here, I'll do it right now. And the guy did it right then, took him about 20 minutes. Your car's going to be fine. In about another 10 or 15,000 miles, you'll need to do this and this, and it costs you a couple grand. And the guy goes, can I pay you for what you just did? He says, no. I'll get it back. Because I'm thinking you'll probably come back to me. Probably not going to go to that dealership, are you? The guy goes, no. He said, yeah. He said, and this guy was trying to get me to drive my car up to him to go give him business because he appreciated the guy so much. You all have examples of referral, whether it's from marriage, friends meeting, all that stuff. I bring those up. I said, would you refer me to that dealership? What kind of car do you have, Paxton?
An Audi.
Okay, I love Audis. I have an Audi. Did you recommend that dealer? And you'd go,
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. That's a referral. And I appreciate it. And then I'd say, what is the last movie you saw in a theater, if you can remember? Or
Frozen
you remember
2.
Yeah, Frozen 2. Yeah, that's about right. But let's say, just think of one of your favorite movies. Now, what's one of your favorite movies, Paxton?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, the Star Wars series, right? When you came out of Star Wars, did you talk to anybody about it, about how much you loved it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, we're referring a movie, aren't we? And I hope somebody's going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we built our whole company. I'm kind of hoping you'll like us enough, like Star Wars. You'll at least like us as much as, somewhere close to Star Wars, or somewhere as close as your car dealership, or somewhere as close to your favorite Chinese restaurant. Because we're looking to put hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into your future. So we hope you like us just a little bit. Maybe enough to refer us to somebody else who might need some of the same kind of goal setting and coaching and reflection. Right? And so anyway, you see how I bring that stuff in. We taught our guys to bring that stuff in. And by the way, I get a referral commitment solidly at the end of the first presentation. And it's easy for them to give. You know why? I've gained their trust. I've made a connection. I've brought up, 5, 6, 7, 8 things about all the different ways we all give referrals. And the barriers have gone way down. I used this when I talked to you last week or earlier this week, whenever it was. and about a couple, right? In Southern California, they were an SMD couple. They said, can we give you a ride to the restaurant? We're done with the training. We're going to the restaurant. And they say, you know what? We just not any good at getting referrals. I said, let me guess. You don't mention referrals at all till the very end. You've done the second presentation, closed, filled out the app, done everything. You ask about referrals, you go, not really. And you go, okay, and you leave. And it's kind of like you jumped out from the corner of a building and scared somebody at the end. Hey, and just, and they go, no. And you go, okay, sorry. And that's not getting referrals, right? I mean, that's nothing. That's like an unpleasant surprise, as opposed to what the process I just took you through, like from day one, talking about it, we build 100% of our business by referral, because we believe in trust relationships, all the way through all the different ways we give referral, bringing Larry's influence in. Man, I'm sure glad he referred us, and so am I. And now Paxton says, I'm kind of glad he did too. And we're there. Now at the end of the first presentation, I'm gonna get a referral commitment. And I said, remember I mentioned this? And I bring out 2 sheets. They're a condensed, right? Little memory jogger, has 30 things on there. And I literally put it in front of both of them. I have the pens. I said, the pens in front of them. I said, let's just brainstorm a few names. I'm not going to take this with me, right? Because we haven't finished proving that what we can do for you. But just while we're here, let's just throw a few names around. And we look down at that and we start brainstorming family, and we brainstorm friends and brainstorm people they work with, right? And they brainstorm people that neighbors, and we write down a bunch of names. Because they're not giving it to me, they don't have any mental blocks. And I averaged 10, 12, 15 names on just that go around. With them both working with it, it's just like this. And they said, well, no, I'm not sure that I didn't want to introduce Rich to that guy. I don't like your cousin. I said, well, let's just write his name down. Let's not worry about filter. We're not going to qualify him or filter him at this process. We just wanted to write some names. I'm priming the pump here, and we get a bunch of names written down. And then I leave it with them. I said, while I'm gone, and we set an appointment for 2 or 3 or 4 days, whatever it is, I said, be thinking about it. When you think of a name, write it on the list. When you're on social media, when you're on Facebook or something, you look at your friends, maybe add a few names. Do you know how easy it is to end up 15, 20 names this way? It's easy. As long as you've done the preparation, as long as you've connected it all. So you've got to work hard on the connection, work hard on the preparation. You're not sweating working hard, right? But you're going to be focused on it every time. You want to connect sincerely. You want to give the examples. You've done the preparation. Now I've even gotten most of them written down before I even left in the first presentation. I used what I called the simplified memory jogger. And then I give them an idea of simplified referral language. Now this is when we get to the close. Now, so now we've come back, we've presented the needs analysis, right? We determine their need, and their affordability, and what we're putting in the insurance program. If there's any additional savings program, we're doing an annuity, doing a mutual fund, whatever the heck it is, right? And we've done, and they've committed and they're ready to go and they're ready to fill out the app. Before I fill out the app, I do the referrals. I get referrals before the app. Pure and simple. Because that's the most important thing I'm getting then. You say, well, the app's important. Of course it's important. But I'm just getting my next 3 or 4 recruits and my next 10 apps on the referrals, guys, right? And I've got to show Larry how to do it. I'm training him at the same time. And so I get that. Now, you've got to figure out how you want to do this electronically, but it's not that hard. You literally are going to have some examples of some referral letters. Right now, while we're dealing with it over Zoom, I've dropped you an email that has an attachment that has some referral language in it. The most important thing they're going to do in an email is how they recommend you with it, and then put a little PS on it. This is pretty simple stuff. Very straightforward. The old days, paper, not electronic. We had these pre-printed letters. They signed them, put a PS on it, addressed it by name to them. They filled out an envelope with the address, and we gathered all that. Then I put the stamp on it, and we mailed it. Their handwriting and fingerprints were all over it. Now, email connection, some form like that. And then, but as I'm working on the language with them, a little bit of what they're going to say to somebody, I have fun with it. Right at this point, I get them laughing. I said, here, I want you to say something like this to them. I don't want you to go over the top, right? Overdo it. And so let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Here's what I want you to say, something like this. Rich Thawley is arguably one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. I'm stunned by the connection we have with him. He's brilliant in his understanding of everything having to do with money. I like him so much, I want you to know, if you don't sit down with him, I think, one, you're stupid. Two, I'm thinking I never want to see you again. That our friendship will be at an end, right? That if I want you to change churches. I'm telling you, everything's canceled going forward, and our relationship is over, right? And because Rich is special, and he's honest, and he's fun and funny, and you can count on him, and he knows his stuff. And I'm just telling you, it's over if you don't do business with him. In fact, just getting with him isn't enough. You got to do business with him, and you got to give him all your money. And then sign it, love, Paxton and Jill. Something like that. How does that sound? So I just rattle off something ridiculous over the top. You know why? Because then they come back with something really good, as opposed to a one-liner. You ought to listen to Rich. He's a good guy. Right? I said, can you go a little bit further? That's how I learned to do the gush thing. So I did this over-the-top, ridiculous potential note. And they go, well, okay, probably not that extreme. I'm a little hurt that you weren't willing to go to the wall for me like that. And because they're just your parents, you know. Anyway, and then they say something really nice. They give a 3 or 4 or 5 sentence thing, recommending, put their name on it, and I'll have them contact you. Seriously, at least talk to him. That's usually my PS. Seriously, at least talk to him when he makes contact. This will be his number, right? So you recognize it on your phone. It's a 209 area code. And so now I got them sending those out. I got the list of who they are and their email and their mobile number, their phone number. And I've got it. I'll show you examples of this in a second. In fact, I'm going to jump ahead. And I'm going to come back. Okay. What to say to referrals. How to coach our clients. And this is the point I'm making. We need to help coach our clients, these people, give them thoughts on what to say to people they refer to us. Here's some more straightforward examples. These guys help people the rest of the financial industry didn't want to help. If we'd met with them a few years ago, it would have made a world of difference for me financially. Well, we always knew we needed to do something better than we were, but we never knew where to turn. All right, I'm really impressed with this. They take a low-key, you know, Rich takes a low-key educational approach, and I trust him. Right? You make it personal. But then they say nice things about you as a human being. Why? Because you made connection with them. You've started a trust relationship. Say something nice. Help them come up with things. Is there anything that you liked about me? If you didn't like it, don't tell me that part. But if you know, and you have fun with it. You got to coach them. And you always do some over-the-top stuff just to have some fun with it. Right? Yeah. When I talk about a simple member jogger, the condensed one, right? Here it is. Like I said, 30 days. It just shows you dated. It has MySpace on it. Is that hilarious? Anyway, so you can do anything you want with this list, but this is basically what I do. Enthusiastic, ambitious, motivated, college friend, best salesperson, coworker, bosses, best friends, family, in-laws. I don't start with best friends. I just start with things that are a little more intriguing, get their mind engaged. Then we get to best friends, family, in-laws, neighbor, church friends, the coach, the good teacher, competitive person, somebody you play sports with, neighbor, your parents' neighbors. Because you grew up somewhere and you have neighbors and they're all connected. Who do you eat lunch with at work? Who are your kids' teachers and coaches? Bookworm. I always left that on there because I like talking about how much I like to read. And always interesting. I find I connect with people through that because invariably I find out one or both of them like to read. And then we start talking about books we like and all this stuff. By the time I've gotten through here, I've gotten 15, 20 names on the average. And I want you to start working on this. Get rid of MySpace. Obviously, you're going to put something else. You have another, and you might move some of the social media network stuff up besides Facebook. And you've got 4 or 5, 6 others to pick from. and throw on there. But then I have just a referral selection sheet. It was very simple. Their names, the email, the cell phone. I just don't need other phone. Ages and number of children. A couple of little notes about their career. And if I need to write a little more, I write it around it or write it over here or write it under here. And I get this down. My minimum goal is to fill out 2 sheets like this, front and back, which is 16. And, but if you left there with 8, that's 8 more than you were getting. Again, my record's in the hundreds. And because the CPA loved our stuff so much, he just basically emptied his client list out of his firm to us. And he said, everybody I know needs this. So, back here. The other way, right, we give referrals on a sales presentation, we get referrals on a prospect list. What's the other way? Oh, by the way, let me touch follow-up. I let people know how their referrals are responding to me. So I called Paxton and Jill. I said, I talked to Bob, but I felt like he was a little reluctant. Would you mind just touching base with him again and reaffirming that I'm a decent human being? This is worth a couple of minutes of just sitting down. You know, and I may have had Paxton include something about, hey, they don't try and sell on first presentation. It really is worth hearing them out. And when you've got stuff going out like that, do you know how much easier those calls are to make? You know, how much more friendly they are? And we just go from there. And it's just a Zoom call, so that makes it even easier for them to say yes, because I don't have to come into the home. We don't have to dress up. They can even be sitting there in underwear as long as they're here, right? And we're having a conversation. And it's easier to get both spouses there. A lot of them are still sheltering in, depending on which state or province or whatever, community. And a lot more are working from home. It's easy to get daytime appointments with both of them. Used to be usually only got with both of them at night. Now it's one of the reasons we've grown so much as we have as a company this year. COVID actually forced people into their home, both of them, whole family. And actually, we were kind of a nice diversion to talk. But I always let them know what's going on with their referrals. And by the way, when they get issued and I deliver the policy, I get some more. It works. The next way you get referrals, or the next circumstance in which you get referrals, is we end up giving a lot of one-on-one presentations. Some of that's first presentations. Some of that's the first presentation on the product. And they said, you know what, I have $23 million in the quality investment portfolio, and it's about $10 million more than I need, and I'm good. You go, okay, give me a hug. You know, I don't meet many guys like people like you. But you're gonna give a lot of one-on-one. Every follow-up interview is a one-on-one presentation. Every first presentation with the opportunity, one-on-one, right? There's a lot of follow-up in the home. They're just one-on-one presentations that don't really go anywhere, right? They're not joining, but they liked it. They were impressed with it. They respected it. We made a connection, but they're not joining. They're not buying. I get referrals. I get referrals of people they know aren't squared away or might be interested. It's not as strong as getting a referral from someone who bought or someone who's joined, but it's still good. And you got lots of people who keep telling you they've run out of places to go. I wasn't even close. I was thousands of places to go behind after a few years of referral gathering. Thousands behind. I'd never get to them all, which is a great feeling. So sometimes I'm giving recruiting presentations, sometimes giving recruiting presentations to centers of influence, either recruiting or center of influence presentations. I sit down with a minister. The guy's not going to stop ministering, and he's not going to come to work with us. But he has tremendous influence, large numbers of people, and I connect with them, do a quality job of letting them know what we do, how important it is, and he starts referring me. I talked to a business guy. I was recruiting all kinds of people in Silicon Valley, but I was not recruiting all kinds of people in Silicon Valley also, but they came in, they heard the story, did a follow-up interview. I'm sitting with a senior manager at IBM once. This is when IBM was the big dog. And still a big dog, but not the big dog. And the guy was senior manager, about to get a senior vice president promotion. Is a big deal, right? He's already vice president. He had a bunch of teenage children, one just off to college, whole bunch going on, kids, 6 kids. I remember all about him. I remember his name was William. And he said, I wish I'd run into this when I was your age, Rich. He says, now I know myself, I'm not going to redo and start a whole new business. I'm about to get this promotion. It squares away us economically. I got kids in college, more coming, kids on missions. I'm paying for all of that. I can't go in a lot, He says, boy, I was impressed with this and what you have going on. I got a bunch of referrals from that guy, and he had tremendous credibility. And I created 4, 5, 6 of those referrals. And that was all personal recruits of mine, because I had prospected the guy. And so you're giving center of influence for referrals, right? Some of these people you're trying to recruit, but there also could be centers of influence, but they're not joining. So build a list of center of influence people that you will regularly call and get more referrals from. That's how you let your fingers do the walking on your personal recruiting. That's how come I was able to stay about 25, 30 personal recruits a year without even breaking a sweat. Because I kept myself on these people's minds by regular contact. You see, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I thought about you, and I thought I should call you. So I'm glad you called. I can't wait for them to call me. I'm constantly refreshing them. And they keep feeding me, and they watch my success and made it easier and easier for them to give. How many people have you talked to like this that you got nothing from? You don't have their name, you don't have their email, you don't have their cell phone. And if you had that, there's always good news to call and tell them about. Like right now, if I was calling my centers of influence, I'd be talking about how we have a new international CEO, and he finally gets it, that we're the thing. We are the golden goose, and they're making a bunch of resources available. Man, it's a game changer for it. Then I'm going to call them back and tell them about this new virtual training system we're building. That Silicon Valley operation, it has vision for it, help Salesforce develop theirs, help this company, Facebook develop theirs, help, Hewlett Packard develop. And we have their consultants working with us, and it's going to be 24/7 availability on a worldwide basis for quality training, multiple languages. Game changer. I'm constantly sharing good news. Hey, we're starting something called the Associate Owners Group, and anyway, just there always is stuff to talk about. It's constantly good news. Some milestone the team just hit. You just got your $1 million plaque and ring. And so I bring back good news. They give me more names. And I'm not running around talking to some guys waiting my table. I connect with the person who's waiting my table. If there's some unusual circumstance about their market, I might proceed from there, come back to the restaurant sometime. But the reality is, I had centers of influence, good people in the community constantly feeding me names because we made a good connection. I'll give you one. He was a manager with Intel. And he came to our business, and we had done our first type associate owners group. It's called A.L. Williams Corp. It's a reinsurance company. And he had joined our team just because he's interested in the financial stuff, did some business, older than I was, ton of credibility, but he put good money in that company when it went public. And that company went crazy. It went 5 times the first week, 10 times the second week, 20 times in 8 months. And he put a decent chunk of change in there. I mean, not a huge amount, but it's like 100,000, 150,000. And it turned into $2 million in just 8 months. The 100,000 did. It's 150. Obviously, have been 3 million. And he came up. He called me. He said, "Can I sit down with you?" I said, "Sure." And he came in. He said, he says, "I want to thank you for everything. I want to thank you for the chance to participate in that. That was the amount I needed to take early retirement. I'm taking early retirement. We're actually going to move out of the area. My wife and I are going to do some traveling first. This company was a godsend." Right? And you know what I got that guy to do? I put him on my center of influence list, and he referred people to me for about the next 5 or 6 years. Guys, you stare off into the distance and you wonder why you recruit 3 or 5 or 8. 1, you're not working a warm market. 2, you don't build center of influence lists that'll refer you people forever. We're a great company doing wonderful things for people. And people will constantly refer you, especially if you already made a connection, you have credibility and a trust relationship with them. And they will do almost all your prospecting. By the way, that tip alone is worth this webinar and the time you're taking to spend on it. By the way, what do I do in one-on-one presentation with Center of Influence? I do the standard introduction, right? 100% of our business by referral, trust relationships. We look for character, right? Great relationships in people. We look for, anyway, life experience, you know what it was, right? And then we don't do business first presentation. We believe in, in showing respect. And, even though we're not giving a product presentation, I talk about our value system, right? Then when I'm with them, with a center of influence, and I'm doing that first time, I use a simplified memory jogger. I follow up and let them know what's going on. I give them the same note. This is a presentation just to get referrals. Either I'm recruiting them directly and I don't get them and I get referrals, or they're a center of influence and I impress them and I get referrals. My basic premise here is I turn no's into names. You understand? I turn no's into names. Follow-up interview, you decided not to do it, I turn no's into names. Hey, they're already impressed, right? They came down, they're impressed enough to set a follow-up interview, they're impressed enough to keep it and to talk to us about it. They've already been, right, impacted. Add them to the list. Let them refer you. Refer, refer, refer. Will you please make your business more fun? Will you please make your business more enjoyable? All right, and stay on top of this stuff. This is how you work. Okay? And have fun giving the over-the-top verbiage for the email. Rich is so wonderful. And I say, I'm thinking of leaving my wife for Rich. And we laugh about that, anyway. And I don't do the opposite, by the way. So I don't talk about her leaving him for me. And so at my age, you don't have to worry about it anymore. But when I was younger, I didn't want to do it. But at this, now I'm grandfatherly. How did that happen? But it's incredibly effective, by the way. People listen to their grandpas. And so this is working good. I get more referrals than ever. It's the easiest thing I've ever done. And I owe it to a guy named Bob Safford, who's dead now. And he died when he was still with PFS, and with A.L. Williams, it became PFS. And I always loved him for it. And he taught me how to get referrals, how to do a better job of prospect list, how to get referrals of sales presentation, and how to prepare them. And then I mastered it myself. I do a better presentation than he did back then in terms of how to practically do it. Okay, I'm interested in some feedback. I'm going to stop sharing now. Yeah, Cindy wants to share something. Here's my pretty wife.
Hello, everybody. I've been listening to him, and I believe so much in the referral system. I just watch it. I watch it from the beginning. just really help us in so many ways, and everybody on our team, because they always had a place to go. There was never a time they didn't. But I just have one quick story about referrals, and that is when we were getting ready to have our second child, Rich had a really important appointment. He just had been trying and trying to get this guy.
This is a little embarrassing, by the way.
And finally he could do it. And we didn't know exactly when, the baby was going to come. So I had started some contractions at home. And so I just hung out with Rich, me and Alicia, and she was about 20 months old. And so I said, well, we'll just go with you to the appointment. No problem. And so we get up there, but oh my goodness, my contractions started getting closer, and I'm listening, and I know, pretty much it was the second, visit, and I knew this guy really believed in what we were doing, but I'm walking outside, I'm doing my breathing, and I'm like, oh, they're about 10 minutes apart. This is getting closer. And so I'm like knocking on the window to Rich, we gotta go. And he's like, just a minute, just a minute. And I finally go in, I can hear him, and he's getting referrals, So, I mean, I knew that was really important.
I got 17 referrals.
That's right. That's right.
17 filled out letters, 17 envelopes addressed. Yep. This guy was a strong church leader in that part of the world, and a real center of influence. Yeah. And I knew his referrals were gold. And she hadn't gotten down below 7.
That's right.
And so it was still only 10. And I'm embarrassed to admit this. I wouldn't do that today, I have to admit. I would have come back and gotten those referrals, and it would have been just fine. But you guys, I was so religious and disciplined in how I got this stuff. And this is a personal guy of mine, and I got all those referrals. They were great referrals too. I got several close anyway.
So it was a lot of fun. It's a really good story, and it's really true.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to just say quickly is when I had the privilege of being in the office all the time, and we had a very large base shop, and the applications would go across my desk, and I loved looking at every application and the information about it because it was about a family. But hooked onto there, we always had our team people put their referrals, and then, after it was ready to be sent off, I would put it back in their little box or whatever with their leader. But I would flip through those and see what some of those referrals said. And I knew that this person was going to make a difference in our business because of what he did with that one family and what these other families represented. And so I really have a testimony of referrals. And I really know it makes people think and believe more. So I say, use the referral system and enjoy it, and you'll see great things happen.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Especially during labor.
Yeah,
That's when you want to really get those referrals.
That's right.
Because it makes for a great story the rest of your career, assuming that you actually survived the experience of making your wife wait like that. Anyhow, fortunately I did. Okay, questions I have about this. How much time do I have? We just have a few minutes here. Okay.
Hey, Rich.
I have waxed eloquent.
Just a quick question. How far apart would you schedule your appointments?
Oh, okay. Far apart. I thought you were going to talk about the contractions for a second. You mean for the close?
Yeah. Like, would you have like an hour and a half process, or to close the business and to get the referrals and the whole thing? Yeah.
I mean, you get to it, a close. The first presentation usually was an hour and 15 minutes, and 15 minutes of that were really the connection up front. And the other was interaction and Q&A. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes an hour and 50 minutes, sometimes it'd be an hour and 20. Even if that was the only appointment, I didn't want it to go a long time, because you overstay, you grind it out. Now they think about you coming back, it's going to be another 3 hours. You just don't need to have those kind of experiences with people. It's like your only follow-up interview that day, so you spend like 3 hours with the person. Person is wear them out. And I give up. As far as the close goes, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's kind of what I experience. Time we get all the language, especially if I've got 15, 20 referrals. And we've crafted the email. We're gonna use the same one for everybody. We've actually written it out, because that's what we did right there. Or one of them's typing it, into their device, and we go. Right, and because I want to craft it, do the list, and start mailing these out. I'm right on the spot. I want these mailed out. So they've sent out a bunch of referrals, and I'm leaving, and I've got the names, and I'm following up over the next few days with these people. And I'm immediately getting referrals. You see, when you're working this thing, this goes. It's like a tip on how to go 4 deep in a leg. You know, used to AMA, you had to get what, three referrals. You had 3 references. I would still verbally ask, when you're doing an AMA, I would ask for 5 references. And you get, you know, a parent, a brother, a sister, a couple of best friends. And that's great. Let's talk to them right now. And we call those 5 references right on the spot and try and reach them. And they'd introduce me on the phone, 3-way call, and we go, hey, you know, Cameron's just starting with our company. He's given you as a reference. And he says, you're a good man. You know, and Cameron's introduced me, you know, and I'm going to, and we'd like to jump on a Zoom call with you and give you a little bit of an idea what Cam's going to be doing and have you give him some feedback, right? And I'd like to hear how you feel about him too and where you think his strengths are. And we get on a Zoom call and I give him the overview. You know what I start him with? Hey, we do 100% of our business part, you know, and we believe in trust relationship, and boom, 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 connect, tell me about your family, all this stuff. And then I'm doing one-on-one recruiting meetings, right? And they may defer to client status, and then we set up to do that. But this is how you move fast. I get the references, go. Meanwhile, I have them working on his prospect list. But I get those easy fat ones right away. We make contact right away. Boom, boom, boom. Look, you all have the ability to do really special things here. But oftentimes we dilute our efforts with too much time. And so I had urgency on taking the easy referrals, right? Their references, making contact and moving it fast. And on Zoom, we can move faster than ever before to presentations and into homes and see both husband and wife, right? And family situations. Go, go, go. And the same thing's true with those emails from a happy client who is now a new friend, a happy new friend who's also a client. And then boom, we're making contact, touching bases. You know, and let's say I called, they didn't answer, didn't recognize the number. I text them, and it just will come up my number, not name. This is you know, Cam Agnew. This is Rich Thawley. You just received an email from Paxton and Jill, right? About some things we did with them. I called to talk to you. I understand you probably didn't recognize my number. I'd really like just give me a couple minutes. Let's talk about what we did and go from there. Not interested, fine, but give me a couple minutes. Let's just connect for a second. And then I call them again. And we go. And I just work it. And it's not that hard, and it's pleasant. It's not like talking to, again, cold calls. This is pleasant. This is a friend of Paxton and Jill. And I'm a friend of theirs too. All right. And we go. And some you're not going to connect with, some you do. But if I got 16, you know, I don't care if I got 8, I'm going to connect with 4 of them. I mean, we're back in the game. If I got 16, I'm going to connect with 8 or 9 or 10 of them. And I got personal prospects. I got some that are interested in looking at the opportunity. Some of their client base. Some are going to be set as influence and give me more referrals. Do you understand, as I worked this diligently, how I ended up with thousands more referrals than I could actually make contact with? Are you getting a little sense of how that happened? I mean, because we got millions and millions and millions of people to reach. When Tom Dempsey and I were talking about, he was in a meeting on a phone call with Mullen and LIMRA, and, you know, these organizations that keeps these statistics, and they're like, these 40 million people that underserved, and 40 million don't have coverage, another X million are undercovered. I said, hey, their numbers are off. I didn't do their research, but I've been in this thing up to my eyeballs for 41 years. Those are low numbers in the United States. And they gave me the Canadian numbers, and, you know, and they're low. They're low. I mean, how many homes you going into that have nothing and aren't prepared? Almost all of them. It's crazy, right? Maybe a little bit of coverage at work. So this is pretty cool. And you got another one Trevor's talking about. We've done 3-way text referrals from clients. That works too, right? But you got to get live with them, you guys. You got to get live. You got to get talking to them. You're not connecting by text. You can initiate by text. You can't connect by text.
Yeah, I think what he means, Rich, is the text is like the email. And
Right.
It's just a great warm introduction, and everyone's there on it. So it's very easy for you to take control of it after, because they
Great
might
idea.
have questions.
Great idea. That's probably how I do it first. I'm more of a texter than an emailer. But I'd get both. I'd make sure I had the ability to do both. So think about it. If you just got a new person and you got 5 references from them right away, and you went and you'd start doing a group text, right? Boom, 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 5 of them, and you're making contact, you're already starting to build their business. How do you get through all the referrals, and don't you feel bad if you don't connect with each one? No.
That's awesome. It's
No, I don't.
That's what a great problem to have. I'd rather have that problem than the alternative.
Yeah. What I feel about is all the people that don't get any referrals. Not who get swamped because they're so busy going to all the places they can go, helping as many people as they can. And recruiting more people to go see as many people as they can. And recruiting more people to go see as many people as they can. But once you install this and it's part of your machine, you're in a different world, you guys. Now, leadership, will you please monitor how this is going? All right, and we'll ask some questions about it on future calls. Next, start monitoring how many referrals per sale you're getting. I want you to have that data. Cindy said we used to make them turn it in with the app. We would not process an app without referrals. How about that? That was back when we controlled processing. Now it's electronic and boom, it's off. Right, it's gone. And so you've got to do it as best you can without being able to control it at that level, right? You need to get evidence of what's going on with those referrals, because you got to stay on top of your game. You got to make sure they do too. All right. Would you change your email text introduction? They referred to you for the business versus use common sense on that stuff, right? Yeah, I mean, you look, one, you're gushing about what they did for you financially, you know, and planning. One, you're gushing about this great company with these great people, right? And so again, you can use, you all got enough savvy and enough sense to kind of do the details. I did broad strokes, but we did some pretty specific things. By the way, the second part of the question that April asked, if you're getting 20 per person, call me when you're doing that. I'll be impressed. Do you pass them along to your team when you get busy? You could, but the reality is they're the ones that connected with you. It's a little bit personal, and you need to reconnect with the person to get their permission. Does that make sense to you? You reconnect with the person to get their permission, because now you send somebody they didn't recommend, right? You went to the mechanic, you love that mechanic, he's the one that went extra for you, and all of a sudden he's referring you because he's swamped to another mechanic shop. And maybe they get a good experience, maybe they don't. So it goes from there. But I didn't feel bad if I couldn't reach him. right? Then you know what? They didn't either. They weren't worried about it. Neither was I. I just stayed swamped, taught my guys to do it, and we just kept going. Go team. Referral maniacs. Referral obsessed, where we started. Okay. I like it. Okay. Someone asked for the same thing. I'll send you this presentation. You can make adjustments to it. You can add the three-way text commentary to it, you know, to the bullet points. I will do that to my next one. And we'll go from there. All right, worth the time, I hope. I hope you can make use of it. I'm not disappearing, so we can continue to have conversation about it. And this will change your world, and it'll change your team's world. Especially Pax, Cameron, right, Greg, and those others of you that were on the calls with Barry, especially as we elevate our awareness about how to connect with people and how to get them to tell us and give us information, you know, about themselves, their lives, and about why they would join. You combine the ability to get referrals with an increased ability to connect and communicate. Man, our whole world has changed. That's how we 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x our game. I was talking with Tom about that yesterday. I mean, his challenge, he knows he's got a 3x the next 5 years. I said, man, if we don't 5x the next 5 years, I'm going to be disappointed. I want 10x certainly in the next 10 years. Think about that, what that'll mean for our company. Instead of doing $1 billion a year, doing 10 billion. You know how many more people that represents? How much more good we'll be doing? Man. God, I love this thing. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being with me. Greg, anything else?
I do not have anything else to add.
What's our next time?
Next Friday, the 20th at 10 Mountain Time, not 9 Pacific. But that is not for everybody that's on this call because we've got 2 groups here. By the way, the Dynasty Next Generation, the 25 to 75K, we loved having you on. And I hope I know it was an incredible learning experience, and hopefully you feel special getting to spend some extra smaller group time with Rich. But after today's call, we're back to splitting them, that hopefully Rich will be able to do at least a few more with us with the Masterclass, and then we're going to continue on with the Dynasty Next Generation as well. Separate.
I'm coming. I'm just finishing up with Greg Cernatka. I'll be on in a minute. Okay.
But that doesn't mean you all can't qualify and move up. 75K.
Okay, now we're doing this at what time again? What time of day? Or just
9
remind me.
Pacific next Friday.
Got it. 9 to 11. Boom, 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 boom. It's in the books. All right. Cool. So back to our senior leadership team on the next call. Thanks for having me. I love being in business with you. Thanks for being fired up. Thanks for caring. Thanks for doing the job you are. And you know, faith, the kind of faith that I have in our company comes from you guys. My conviction about your abilities and your character, and it thrills me. And so you make my day. What's fun is you make my day every day. And I love Canada. And I love everything about your nation, except socialized medicine. So let's go. And now the idiots down here are leaning in that direction. Maybe I can wait 6 weeks for an appointment. That'd be awesome. Or a year, or like 8 years, or till I'm dead. Okay. Thanks for being my friends. And Guillermo Haro is going to start yelling at me if I don't jump and get on the next call. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. Bye.
Bye.
Want to do it on here?